Lee, could you just explain to me how you first became involved in boxing?
To be honest, we were sort of like forced into it. My dad's like a big boxing fan, boxing fanatic, should I say. Claims he boxed before, says he had 21 fights, only lost one, but there's no evidence, no trophies, no cutouts or nothing, no tape. But yeah, so we was forced into it as soon as we was old enough to go to the gym, 8 years of age. And then when my brother was old enough, he followed after me.
Was boxing something that you were always good at from a young age?
Yeah, I always had like a little bit of natural talent, and the same with my younger brother. So, but starting off, it was more of a chore. We was forced into it, and then, until we realised we was good at it, that's when we fell in love with the sport.
You're the world champion now, but it didn't start out like that. You started off on the small hall circuit, non-televised fights, small shows. How difficult was it for you in the early days?
It was very difficult. We was fighting for little money, no TV coverage, just across the road from the gym, just in the local leisure centre, and we just worked our way up. And then my manager decided to let me box on the road because he knew I was good enough to beat the prospects away, and that's what I was doing.
Was there a single fight in the early days, or a moment in the early days of your career where you thought that you had the potential to become a world champion?
Yeah, probably. Well, saying that, I always thought I'd be a world champion when I was a kid, 10 years of age in the gym. I was the only one who thought that, but I was right in the end. But like the breakout fight for me was when I won the British title. I beat a good boy in a hostile crowd up in Liverpool. And it was a fight I was supposed to get knocked out in, but I turned the tables and knocked my opponent out.
You fought Evgeny Gradovic for the IBF world title. Gradovic was, I think, IBF Boxer of the Year when you fought him. Can you just talk us through that fight and what winning the world title meant to you?
First of all, the opponent, Evgeny Gradovic, he was making his fifth defence, and I think I was his third or fourth mandatory. And he won IBF Fighter of the Year before, so he was a very, very good fighter and an established champion. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want to box for the vacant title. I wanted to beat a champion. And going into the fight, I prepared well. I went out to America, sparring with the Mexicans, who he has a similar style to, and the fight went to plan. Just how I imagined it to play out, and now my team thought it'd play out. That's how it went.
In a way, did you make winning the world title, did you make it look too easy? Because you just won it so clearly against a very good champion. So are you a victim of your own success to a certain extent?
Yeah, I don't really get the credit I deserve because I do make the fights look easy. I sort of like coast my way through them. I haven't had to dig deep yet. So I don't really get the credit that I should do. I beat a great champion for the world title in my first attempt. And I think it was only my 23rd fight. So I don't think I got the credit I should have.
In your first world title offence was in the United States against Fernando Montiel. Another former world champion, a very tough fight, a tough contest in the end, and you probably didn't get the credit you deserved for that either.
I don't think I've had the credit for any of my performances, to be honest. Fernando Montiel, he was a little bit past, well, he was supposed to be past his best, but he still proved he had a lot left in the tank. In his prime, should we say, he was a freeweight world champion, so he was an elite fighter. To win the world title once, you got to be a great fighter. So 3 times in 3 different weight classes, you're elite. So again, I didn't get the credit I deserved. It was a tough fight. I got cut in the fight, and it was my first time fighting out in America, so it was a bit of a new experience. But I got the job done.
What is it about that particular fighter that made it so tough for you? He seemed to take a few rounds for you to settle down and to work his style out. Is that just the experience he got?
I say he was very experienced. He'd had like 3 or 4 times the amount of fights I've had. He'd had more world title defences than I'd have fights in my career. So he used his experience. He was very clever, gauged his distance well, and it took a few rounds for me to work him out.
And how did the American boxing fans and the American boxing media take to you after the fight and after the victory?
The media took to me well, but the fans, there was a lot of Mexicans out in Arizona. He was a Mexican fighter, so they booed me on the way in and they booed me on the way out.
But does experiences like that help you build as a champion for tougher fights down the line?
Most definitely. Each fight, I take a little bit from each fight and just add to my game. I know I can go out again into a hostile territory. I've done it numerous occasions. I boxed out in Belfast where they all booed me and shouted out some foul gestures towards me. I boxed in a hostile crowd up in Liverpool, and I boxed out across seas in Arizona. So I know I can do it again and win comfortable.
In your last fight, you won a clear points decision against Eric Hunter from America. I mean, he came over with a bit of attitude and was a little bit disrespectful to yourself and also to different people in the media. And we won the fight fairly easily, apart from the second round where you got knocked down. I mean, how hurt were you in that second round?
To be honest, I thought I slipped. Nah, it was a good shot he caught me with. I could say I got caught cold. I watched the fight back, and I was off balance. I threw a shot. I pulled back with my chin in the air. My legs were square, and he caught me with a good punch. But luckily, my legs were fine. My head was clear. I got to my feet and just carried on with the job.
As a professional, was that the hardest single time you've been hit actually during a contest?
To be honest, I didn't feel it at all. And to be honest, in all my fights, I haven't really felt a painful punch, luckily. But yeah, it was sort of like a flash knockdown. As you could see, watching the fight back, it was a great punch, but I weren't hurt at all.
A name that's been linked with you over the last few weeks is Josh Warrington. That's a fight that your promoter and Josh's promoter Eddie Hearn seems to be pushing now. How do you feel about fighting Josh Warrington? It's a natural fight, a great fight for Britain, and it's like a natural rivalry that's been built up. I've been vacating my titles, he's been picking them up, trying to follow behind me, and let's get on. There has been talk of different potential venues. Are you happy to fight Josh here in Wales or up in Leeds if need be, or on neutral territory?
I'll fight him anywhere. I'll go up to Leeds, no problem at all, and knock him out in front of all his friends. And
how do you rate Josh as a boxer? I mean, what do you think? You were the pundit on Sky a few weeks ago at his fight. I mean, how do you rate him, his overall performance, his overall capacity as a fighter?
He's decent. I wouldn't say he's great, but like he's decent because he's won like the British title, the Commonwealth title, and the European title. The opponents are quite suspect though. He beat for the titles. He didn't beat me, who was the original champion. But you look at his last fight, he wasn't too impressive. And I watched him live from ringside. He boxed a guy called Dennis Tuberon. He come into the ring with a pair of jeans on under his shorts, so it shows the level he was at. And he gave him a run for his money. And then that same Tuberon come over a few months later and boxed Mitchell Smith, and he dealt with him in a round where Warrington struggled with him. So you can see what sort of level he's on, and it's nowhere near mine. But they've been calling for the fight. He got a good fan base, so there'd probably be decent money involved. So I'm happy to fight him anyway.
You happen to be in a very exciting division, the featherweight division, lots of big names. Another boxer, a British boxer, who's possibly going to be moving up to featherweight is Carl Frampton. That could be another potentially massive fight down the line for you. Would that be something you'd be interested in?
Yeah, most definitely. That's a massive fight for Great Britain. We're both advised by Al Heyman, so the fight can be made. And like you said, I'm in one of the best divisions in boxing at the moment, and I seem to be the wanted man. After all of these champions are fighting, they're calling me out. They're mentioning my name. Carl Frampton did it after his last fight. Leo Santa Cruz, Gary Russell Jr. last weekend, he called me out. So I got a lot of options.
Regardless of promotional ties and different TV networks, if you could pick your next opponent, who would you like to fight?
To be honest, I'm not one to like pick and choose opponents. I'd honestly fight anybody anywhere. So I leave the opponents and the venues to my management.
Your brother Andrew is now a professional boxer as well. What sort of advice and things we've been telling Andrew as he's been progressing through the pro ranks?
Just the main thing I think is the work ethic, the hard work and the dedication. Just keeping in the gym. You know, I boxed 2 weeks ago. I've been back in the gym this week, and that's the main thing. You got all the talent in the world. If he applies the work, I believe he can be one of the best Welsh fighters ever.
Is there a sort of a friendly, brotherly rivalry between you two, between the both of you? Do you spar together and train together?
Yeah, we spar together and train together, but the rivalry's gone now. There was when we was kids growing up, but now we just try to help each other out.
And sort of what advice did you give to Andrew when he first turned pro? Was there any particular advice you gave him?
Not really, no. And like he's been in the gym with me whilst I've been training for these big fights. He's come into the ring, so he's got a bit of experience, and he knows the work I put in and the achievements I've got out of it. So he knows if he applies himself, he could achieve what I have or probably more. See, I believe he's the most naturally the better fighter.
Let's just say 5 years down the line, 10 years, 15 years, whenever you decide to retire. Yeah. What would you like Lee Selby's legacy to be? Lee Selby's boxing legacy when people look back in time?
Just to be one of the great Welsh fighters. I think I've put my name down in the history books, being the 12th man to win a world title from Wales.